So you're really going to do it?
Yep.
What do you hope to gain from this?
Nothing. But it can't be as bad as Darksiders 2.
This isn't bravery, it's stupidity.
Glad we finally agree on something. Now, do you want in on this, or are you going back to your fucking corner?
You're on your own, Mr. Sharkgold.
Alright then. Let's rock! Originally announced for the Xbox and PC by developer Enlight Software in 2005, American claimed to have been inspired by a Homeland Security billboard warning about chemical attacks. Fine enough, we all draw our inspiration from strange places. In the coming year, the Xbox port would eventually be dropped, and the title would finally drop on PC in North America on September 6th of 2006. Taking his inspiration from that billboard, McGee would seek to satirize all spectrums of politics with the implementation of the good old ultra-violence, seeking a more comedic take on an overarching plot of a man rediscovering his lost hope for humanity. It released to absolute yawns at best, the lowest possible scores at worst. Reception was bad. It remains bad, and I guess this is really the part where I tell you that we're going to take a good, hard look at why with American McGee Presents Bad Day LA. Oh, this little shit. Yeah, you remember these motherfuckers? Just the absolute apex of packaging design. A box where your discs were free to spin around and move to their heart's content. All but guaranteeing that just leaving them on the shelf would scratch the fuck out of them. I have legitimately opened brand new games with scratched discs because of these brain dead shits. Great fucking design, ass fucks. Roll the intro. You are Anthony, a former glow-in-the-dark who lost his faith in humanity and decided to become a crazy bum. You find yourself in the middle of a busy highway one day when...
Listen, people! I have an announcement to make! If you don't want to see any mud, but you best close your eyes!
Yeah, we start off with a stolen joke. This is not a good portent. So as Tony Baloney gets ready to shit all over the 10, a plane that was for some reason carrying a virus that turns people into zombies is hijacked by terrorists, and then...
Bad Day LA.
Oh look. He did the thing. Roll credits. So, yeah, a virus that turns people into zombies is spreading across Los Angeles, followed by multiple disasters, gang wars, and even a Mexican uprising of all things. Anthony decides it's time to take his ass out of the Californian shithole, and along the way acquires a small gang of friends to rescue and escape with each being more whimsically stereotypical than the last. We have a sick child who can only communicate via vomiting, a Mexican landscaper, a Paris Hilton knockoff, and a one-armed warmongering psychopath military fellow. Aren't they quaint? So the military decides they're going to nuke LA to get rid of the zombies, and in his attempts to escape, Anthony must board a train, which subsequently crashes in what I will be charitable and consider a moment of self-awareness. Then, he must attempt to board a plane, which is then shot down by a Mexican cartel. Then they have to find a boat, which a tsunami turns their asses around right quick. Then a helicopter, which upon landing in Beverly Hills, which isn't far enough away from LA, but okay, the Mexican uprising happens, and from there the bomb is dropped but must be manually activated. And finally, after having regained his faith in humanity, Anthony sacrifices himself to detonate the bomb. Or does he? That's not the correct gag. Let's try it again. Or does he? Gameplay is unfortunately bland as absolute shit even for 2006. It controls roughly like Grand Theft Auto 3 does, Movement will feel pretty stiff at times, but the game's simplicity keeps you from ever hitting a point where controlled dead zones will get in the player's way, especially when you consider the fact that this is PC only and has absolutely zero joystick support. Nothing you do in the game will ever be more complicated than a platforming section or two that is only completely fucked by the game's absolutely awful platforming detection. Anthony will randomly be launched when things collide with his hitbox, such as this weird luggage train section, or sometimes the game won't know what's going on and will just hurl the player for seemingly no reason, like this jump to get a health pickup, or my favorite, just fucking falling through the ledge of the platform you jumped onto. Thankfully, platforming is incredibly rare as the game's mechanics don't support it. This doesn't work out in the game's favor overall, however, as there is very little to carry it otherwise. What's left is all the shit you do to help people and murder. First comes the DHS threat level in the top corner. At low, everything's fine. Except for the zombie virus, people on fire, the cartels, you know, everything's fine other than that shit. But once you start reaching guarded and imminent, civilians will begin attacking you, and you'll have to help people in order to reactivate objective markers. You help people by putting out those who are on fire, using that same fire extinguisher to cure their zombie infection somehow, or using bandages to heal injuries. Doing this gives you smileys, which lowers the threat level. Inversely, hurting civilians gives you frownies, which increase said threat level. You can also kill zombies for smileys, and killing terrorists, rats, bank robbers, and really whoever the else the game asks you to kill will also lower the threat level. This is fine. This kind of stops being fine when gang members killing civilians, civvies burning to death, and other unfortunate events out of your control contribute to frownies. It's dumb, but the game is otherwise dull, and if it didn't play out this way, it would have been an even more boring playthrough. The best that can be said about it is that it's an occurrence that can mix up what is otherwise a very uneventful segment. To complete levels, Anthony will be given a series of tasks. These range from escorting an NPC somewhere to rescuing people from burning buildings to icing motherfuckers on the streets. They're fine, they're repetitive as hell to the point that one level has you running through a burning building 5 goddamn times in a row, but it's mostly inoffensively bad, and sometimes they get fun like playing whack-a-mole or punting a baby. There's plenty of cutscenes introducing tasks, and voice acting will never be considered anything close to competent, with the absolute worst example coming very early in the game when they have what is clearly a man yelling across the room because they don't know how to record loud vocals.
Oh shit! Get the fuck out of here! Go! Get out of here, you stupid idiot!
The cutscenes are never too bad, but they're not very good and are usually reserved for a handful of jokes that we'll talk about in their due course. Overall, it's a simple set of tasks for a very simple game. Truth is, combat is pretty ass. And not pretty ass, it's ass in a large quantity and of a very low quality. Anthony gets a litany of weapons of which few will be very useful, and most combat encounters will feel more like a pain in the ass than really anything enjoyable. The shotgun does shit for damage, and there are no concessions made for headshots. This comes in pretty terrible when you have a lengthy segment where you have to use a sniper rifle to clear terrorists off of rooftops, and they take about 3 shots no matter where you hit them. The weapon of choice ends up being the AK, which kills in the same 3 hits, is automatic, and you will generally get a lot of ammunition for. Then come the Molotovs and classic deodorant flamethrower special. They suck. Fire does very little damage to enemies, does not spread between enemies, and at best just gets them off your back while you deal with other members of the mob. Later in the game, you receive the nail clippers, which are introduced through an actually good joke about the TSA and act as an ultimate AoE on a lengthy cooldown. These are all well and good, and you learn how to work past their issues, especially when the quad damage power-up gets involved, but the very first weapon you get, that's really just not an option. It's a tire iron. It has animations and feedback that are insanely dated and really not satisfying at all. You'll use it like 3 times in the first 4 levels and then never again. There are even 2 turret levels and yeah, okay, kudos for making turret levels that don't fucking suck or make me want to blow my own goddamn brains out. Make no mistake, they're pretty boring, but they're not difficult and they're kind of a fun time just spraying bullets up and down the boulevard. The worst part about the combat is how easy it is for the player to go from 117 health to instantly dead. The game loves insta-killing the player and will even regularly have enemies just straight up shooting through walls to do it. Combined with the fact that every time you have to do any platforming of any kind, it's over insta-death pits and you're pretty much stuck save scumming to complete the game. Nothing says fun like sitting through a door transition just for the game to throw you into a group of enemies who instantly kill you, requiring you to reload your last save. Did you finally find a nice groove with this trash fire? Finally getting some level of enjoyment out of it? Surprise! Restart the fucking level! It's great! I promise! I can't recall playing a game that held so much abject contempt for the player. Like, hey, thanks for buying this game, but Fuck you! The soundtrack absolutely sucks. It's mostly made of 5-second jingles that play on an incessant loop. The end. I already mentioned that voice acting is absolute ass, but I do need to point out how ass voice cues are as well. Like when jumping, taking damage, or pickups, etc. Supreme ass.
Supreme
Ass!
Lowest effort in the game, heaviest repetition you get in the game, and it's low energy, low effort, poo babby garbo. Effort? That says effort, not effort. Effort isn't a fucking word, Necro. Get your shit together. Enemy damage sounds are oftentimes better than anything that comes out of Anthony, and I swear American took one of Alice's damage sound clips and put it in this game. Cute Easter egg, but otherwise, there's no bottom to how bad the voice work is. Hey Necro, maybe stop taking your anger out on reading the script. Did you want to hear the world's worst jacking it sound effect and awkward orgasm every time you pick up a porno mag outboost? Neither did I, but here we are. And now the rage controls me for the rest of the review. Now's the part where I talk about the stuff that isn't pleasant. It's supposed to be satire. I kind of hate talking politics and shit like that, but it's the first and foremost point of this game, so I'll try to keep this shit light. First up is the game's aesthetic. For attempting such a heavy theme of socio-political satire and insane violence, they decided to go with something a little more lighthearted to add some, I don't know, irreverence, levity, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's got a funny pages art style and I'm 100% here for it, especially since Ken Wong played art director on this one. Animations aren't great, and even pre-rendered cutscenes have screen tearing, but otherwise it's cohesive and great to look at. Like dropping a nuke on a strip of family circus. But there are a hell of a lot of problems with dialogue. To make a very long story short, the difference between racial comedy and just being a flat-out racist piece of shit is supported by 3 major facets: context, timing, and frequency. And I heard the phrase taco bender more times than all of Anthony's jumping voice cues combined. I've heard it more times than I said dude in the last 2 years, and I'm a fucking white guy. They say it constantly. That is how everyone refers to Hispanic people in this game, and they do it incessantly, ceaselessly. I cannot stress how many times a Hispanic person is just straight up called a taco bender. The gang war level straight up plasters bend tacos as your objective on screen. Bend meaning kill, tacos meaning Mexican. God damn American. And then there's the so-called quote-unquote satire. Dig, if you will, this goddamn portrait. You're in a bank, and there's a poster on the wall, and that poster says, in big bold letters, get this, give to the rich, steal from the poor. Biting, witty, subtle, and just scathing enough to fucking suck. It's blatant, contains zero nuance, and as much subtlety as starting your game by stealing jokes. There's a flicker of something there from time to time, but it's handled with all the expertise of someone who went to college for feminist dance therapy and failed out! When you combine those two things, yeah, satire stops being a very good label. You have a 13-year-old running around just calling Hispanic people beaners and wetbacks and calling that humor. Look, I'm not here to proselytize about some political bullshit. I'm fucking not! But if you want to know the difference between racial humor and just outright racism, this is your brazen goddamn bull. Finally, I'm reminded of Postal 2, and not in the manner that this game is reminiscent of Postal 2, more in the manner that some Slavjank company played it and said, yeah, we want to do that, and then completely missed what made Postal 2 good. Aside from the ultra-violence handled with a mixture of irreverence and pure disdain, levels are delineated by time of day and the event that is occurring. Each thing alone wouldn't be so bad, but combining the two and the very obvious Baby's First GTA-style satire, and you can start to see how derivative might just be the understatement of the fucking millennium. It really is quite comfy to be able to just fire up a game, play entirely through it, and never once encounter a single original thought. I call it the Sony exclusive method. It's all a shame. Fucking all of it. For the most part, it's not too terribly bad, but when you're asked to platform where they dump you unawares into some shit that eats through 3/4 of your health instantly, or just really bad boss fights, it quickly erodes what little promise and goodwill were available. Between the absolutely ass soundtrack, voice acting that is some of the absolute worst I've ever heard, simplicity on an endless, nightmarish fucking repeat, and a story that spends more time being mean-spirited than actually satirizing, it's really no wonder why it received the hate it did. It's not even worth it to play as an oddity. There's no great jank to enjoy. It's not some insane satire of racial issues a la the Clayton Bigsby sketch. Hell, It's not even the fucking Moon Man wad for Doom. It's a man who got a shit idea in his head, executed it incredibly poorly, and has had to hide out in China ever fucking since. And with that, we've covered all of American McGee's joints, including the one he actually had nothing to do with, except for one. The last one. Huh. Well, I'm the Necroswanson, and you can— God damn it, Mabel!